I'd like to thank you all for being here this afternoon and to thank Finola for joining us. Due to popular demand, we had a great response to Finola's earlier visits in the summer, and I'm really looking forward to today. And we're talking about choosing signature content and content you can deliver and delivers for you. So I'm looking forward to an enthralling hour. So off we go. Thanks, Finola.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emer. Okay, so I'll just get started. I think that's always best to just get stuck in. So I kind of always like to ground anything I do into what are the kind of things I like to either ask people or ask people where they get stuck on any topic that I'm speaking about, and what your kind of challenges are around those pieces of content. So some of the feedback that I got when I was asking around is, what the hell is signature content? So that will be my first big slide. Okay, so you want to know, what the hell is signature content? Why do I need it? Does it apply to me? And is this just more marketing stuff that I have to do? So that's the kind of stuff that I want to address for you in this session. And what I'm hoping you'll get out of this is a way to plan your content so that it kind of makes sense and feels like you, resonates with them. That is always my purpose with any form of marketing, that it feels like you and it resonates with your customers. And when it does both those things, then you have a recipe for success, for conversion, for engagement, for loyalty, all those good things. So anyway, that's what we're here to solve. So 3 learning points for you just to ground that even more. So first is, the obvious. What is signature content? Why it will help your marketing and your business? How to choose it, how to choose your own signature content so that it's consistent, and then how to ensure it matters to your customer. They're the 3 things we want to walk away with today, okay? So, and we're gonna, if any of you have been on these sessions before, the thing that I want you to do, if possible, is have pen and paper, and we're going to work through some exercises, because I think it's always the best way to learn to see how to apply it in your business. So get the pen and paper now. So I should have said that before, but get the pen and paper, and we're going to explore stuff, okay? So, okay, are you ready? We'll do the usual of type yes in the chat when you're ready. So if you're ready, if you're happy for me to get stuck in, please type yes. Have you got your pen, bit of paper, and are you ready? And I just need a few yeses, just to, yes, great. Fantastic. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Great. Okay. So that's my sign to continue. Okay. So my usual thing, anyone who's been here before, these are my rules of engagement for any session I do anywhere. So no judgment. We are where we are. When we have no judgment, it means that we're all free to speak freely with each other and learn from each other, because what you'll find is that most people are having the same problems you have. So no judgment, we are where we are. Confidentiality, I won't share your story outside the group, and I will respect your intellectual property. Your business is safe with me. Really, really important, okay? Okay, so what is signature content? So I want to break it down, because sometimes people think of signature content as this one piece of content. I never like to stop with one. I like to kind of keep going. So it is a flow of content, but it is valuable content that demonstrates your area of expertise or the space you want to own. So as a craftsperson, as a designer, as a maker, what's the space you want to own? This is how we demonstrate your brilliance. That's what signature content is. It's a way of demonstrating your uniqueness, your brilliance, the space that you want to own in the marketplace. That's signature content. And that's what you've got to anchor all this with, okay? It's also a way of connecting directly with your customers, because if you can be consistent in how you communicate your own brilliance, you find a way, your customer finds a way to come into that conversation and have a conversation with you and actually connect with you and build a relationship with you. So it's this opportunity to connect. It's also a way, once you've got them connecting, it's also a way of showing them what you can do for them, okay? That's really important. And I mean, it anchors back to what we want to get out of this session anyway. And it's a way to show you at your best. That's a big one, a way to show you at your best. And you're always thinking, how can I show them? This is what I do, because very often people don't see behind the scenes. Like we have an interesting start that Emer and I were kind of setting things up, and we took the practice section off too quick. And still, you know, you could see behind the curtain, we were comfortable. We were ready to have this great webinar together. So it's a way to show you at your best, no matter what that is. Okay. That's what signature is. Signature content is. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So the next thing I want to say to you is the problem often when kind of even understanding that you need to have signature content as a way to anchor your content that goes out there, it's often a problem with how do you start? Where do you start? And how do I commit to doing this all the time? Because consistency is predominantly the biggest challenge around here of how can I do this every single week? Because we want to do it every single week, or rather your customer wants you to do it every single week. Your marketing wants you to do it every single week. Consistency builds relationships, and consistently being out there at the same time every week or in whatever form that you commit to makes that signature content actually work. One-off pieces will not work. Consistent content does. Okay. So it has the potential to pull your customers through your marketing funnel. That's why it's important and help you grow your business. So we want this consistency of content, this consistency of showing your brilliance. So you get to show off, show who you are, show why you are, show what you do, where you do it, all of these good things to build relationships with customers. Okay. So a rule of engagement for this is that content has to feel like you and be consistent. It must feel like you and be consistent. Okay. So my solution for you on this is to make it a sandwich, one layer at a time, so that you can break it down and for it to make sense, so that it does those two things side by side. Feel like me, be useful to them. Feel like me, be useful to them. Resonate with them, hit them, connect with them, all that. Okay. So if you're ready, if that makes sense, are you ready to make your signature sandwich? That's my question. Can you type yes in the chat? And does it all make sense to you so far? If anything is confusing, interrupt me. I want you to interrupt me if you feel stuck anywhere. Okay. You ready for me to go? Good so far. Excellent. Fantastic. Okay, let's get stuck in. All right. So with your piece of paper, we're going to have 5 or 6 layers in this sandwich, hefty sandwich, but no unnecessary layers. Okay. Your first layer in this signature sandwich, and this is, we've always got to start here in all the work that I do with clients. I always start with, something very core, whether it's purpose or whatever it is. But this first question for you is layer 1 in your sandwich is, what's the core message that you want to get out there into the marketplace? And this is what will anchor the signature, because very often when we're doing content, we drift. Something gets popular in a social media channel, or gets popular somewhere, and we try it out and we drift away from our own message. So what I want you to do is write down, take a moment, write it in the chat, write it on paper. What is your core message? If you don't want to write it in the chat, tell me you've written it down. Because I want you to walk away with here today is effectively a content plan for your signature content going out. So if we can do each layer, all 6 of them, you will walk away with that today. So take a moment and either type yes in the chat or type done in the chat when you're finished, or share with us what your core message is for your business. The core thing that you want your customers to know about you so that you stand out above the rest. Done. Is anyone brave to share? How are we doing? How's everyone else? So give me a couple more dones and I'll move on. Premium handmade heirlooms, love it. So would that be like quality what? What's the core message? Because at the moment, I don't know what you do. So if I only knew your name, which I actually only know your name, I don't know anything about you. Jewelry, okay. What kind of jewelry? Core message. Because if I'm your customer, if I'm someone scanning the horizon to find the answer to my problem or find a solution to something, whether it's a gift, whether it's an engagement ring, whether it's a piece, a Christmas piece, whatever it is, give me the core message. Write that core message down. Don't be so succinct with your communication. Be clear, have great clarity, so that when we always want in communication, we always want to have our customers asking more, but it has to be an invitation. High quality gifts made with care. What kind of gifts? Is it gifts for, and this is where in the work that we did around customer profiling the last time I was here, that's what this was really important about, to being more specific. But I do like high quality gifts made with care. That is quite focused, quite clear, still kind of wanting to know more. If you're okay, I'm going to go to the next one, and you'll see how this emerges, but start with something really, really strong so that we can layer in things. If you don't start strong with the core message, it's very hard to pull signature content from that, because we're trying to get into deep into the business, deep inside what you do, so that your customer can see inside what you do. And you have to open the door to them and not hide. Biggest problem with people who are with marketing and people struggling with marketing is this thing around hiding, not telling everything, not sharing. Your customers want to know you, help them know you, okay? So layer one, it's what's your core message, okay? And you write that down on your piece of paper. My next thing for you is layer two, okay? Is I want you to build pillar topics, right? So you had this anchor core message, right? And now I want you to figure out, are there 4 or 5, and think of it even in SEO, search engine optimization terms, or if someone was in a bar or a coffee shop and they said, what do they do? What could I buy from them? Or where could I book? So what you want to do is figure out what are the core topics you want to be known for. So is it, if someone was searching on the internet, searching on Google, what is the topic you want to be known for? So 4 or 5 of them. So is it that it is wedding rings, engagement rings, statement pieces, christening gifts, handmade, Irish made, useful gifts, environmental gifts, maybe it's abstract paintings for your living room, large abstract paintings for your living room. It may in fact be your own name because you've built it as a brand. What are the pillar topics? And if you don't know your pillar topics, you need to sit and reflect and choose them, because this is the anchor point for most of your marketing. So when someone is trying to explain, is trying to refer you business, how would they describe you? What are the words that they would use to help others understand you? Does that make sense? So, and if anyone is stuck, I'll help you find it. The other thing to do when you walk away from this session, we brainstorm them here in this session, but go away after this session and Google it to find out what your pillar topics should be. This is also kind of thinking about keywords or phrases that how people will find you. Okay, I'll give you a moment. If anyone is stuck, type in the chat that you're stuck. And when you're ready, type done. So when you type done, I'll keep going. Done. Fantastic. Give me a couple more. Done. Great. And anyone get stuck on this? So do you have 4, making sure you have 4 or 5 pillar topics, okay? These are the things you want to be known for. This is your perspective, because we'll start always with your perspective and then we'll move on to their perspective, okay? All right, next thing for you, okay? Layer 3 that I want you to do. It's a simple one. I've got 2 simple ones for you and then a heavy hitter, right? So I want you to, if you're going to do regular, consistent content, I want you to pick your preferred media, okay? So we know, and everyone here knows, that video is really popular, live video in particular. Are you going to do video regularly as your signature content? Are you going to do a podcast as your signature content, which is sound? Or thirdly, are you going to blog, which is writing? What will be your kind of channel of choice, your method of choice to communicate and kind of frame your signature content around? Will you choose video, podcast, or blogging? Because that's really the only three. Type your choice in the chat when you're done. Be interesting to see. And I'd say some of you are already doing video. Type your choice in the chat. Blogging and portfolio. What do you mean by portfolio? Is that just images? Actually, that is the other option, could be images. If you can clarify, do you mean, is portfolio equal images? Is that what you mean by sharing your content? Doing photos on Instagram at the moment, but looking to add video. Please do video, images and text. Don't be scared of video. I know they're like, definitely in the creative sector, it's easy for you to show your beautiful works and it's important. But you know that if you want to move to the next level in your growth of your business, you really need to embrace video. It doesn't mean you have to be on screen, because your pieces of work can be the heroes of the story, but people will also love to see you on screen or hear you talking about your products when you're showing them. Do embrace video. It's a game changer for most people. I really advocate for you to do that. Okay, so we know your core message. We know your pillar content, your pillar topics that you want to be known for, and we know what your preferred media is. Okay, so that's great. You've decided that. Next one for you. Oh, dinner parties. I haven't heard that one before as a media. Oh, that has to go on my next slide. Oh yeah, I really like that. Okay, anyway, so how often, here we go. How often will you commit to doing this signature content? This becomes a game changer for you. So I really, if you had to do no, because I'm wanting this to be an anchor point for all of your content going forward. So how often will you commit to doing it? Please share. So I don't know how often you're going to do a dinner party. That would be very interesting. So type in the chat how often you're going to commit. And I'm kind of wanting you to do that for you to put it in writing, and also write it on your piece of paper beside it to make yourself commit to this. And this means you're stepping much more fully into your marketing, embracing it and pushing your business. This is how you will grow your business, by committing to doing this content consistently, regularly, as seldom as possible. Tonight, please don't do as seldom as possible. We want to do it regularly. Short video once a week, maybe longer once a month. Yeah, once a week is fantastic. Once a week is brilliant. You really actually don't have to do anything more than once a week. It's fantastic, really cornerstone. So bravo, I'm very impressed, very impressed. Okay, next one. Okay, so this is where we kind of plan the content, okay? And what we want to do is get you to incorporate your pillar topics and what they want to know about you. And this is the bit that I want to explore a little bit with you, okay? So here are the 5. There's a great book that I want to share with you. And this is me summarizing the whole book for you, and a firm recommendation for you today. And it's a book by Marcus Sheridan called They Ask, You Answer. And it's this idea that your customers are asking things of you that they need answered in order to make a decision. And your only objective here and your only goal here is to answer those questions. Okay, you've got the revised today. It's great. It's a great book. So well done, Dan. So here are 5 questions that every customer on the planet is asking their supplier, whether that is a maker, a craftsperson, a consultant, an advisor, whatever it is. No matter what industry you're in, your customers are asking 5 key questions, okay? They're asking costs and pricing, problems, theirs and yours. They're asking questions about that. They want to know comparisons and versus, best of lists, best in class, best practices and reviews. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one, okay? So in terms of costs or pricing, put yourself in their shoes, okay? And they're going to have these same questions every time, regardless, because they are choosing who to buy from. So they need a way to kind of filter who is best for them, all right? So how they filter is with these 5 questions. So they want to know things like, how much does it cost? And so what I'm wanting you to do in this, as we discuss this, I'm wanting you to write down one possible, well, actually you could write 4 or 5, but one possible question that your customer could be asking in this area. So what kind of questions is your customer asking around costs and pricing? Are they asking, so if you're a jewelry designer, are they asking, how much does an engagement ring cost? How much does a wedding ring cost? How much does a necklace cost? How much does a gold necklace cost? How much does a big canvas cost? What's the typical price? How much do you spend on a christening gift? How much should we spend on a wedding gift? How much? So it's how much, how much, how much. So we want to know, because we're trying to figure out what our budget is, and can your offering match my budget? So if you can help them, and this old tradition in Ireland of hiding the price and your competitors will be just looking at your prices is out of date thinking. Be open and transparent about your pricing. Like you can even say, on this site, we have, if you have a website, I'm hoping you all have, you can be saying things like wonderful handmade gifts from €20 to €200, so that somebody will know what you can get in here. It's a wonderful blog post. It's a wonderful piece that you could talk about. You could have a video in that week saying, here are some ideas for you for Christmas for Uncle Joe. And here we have bum, 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 and this will cost you around €15. This will cost you 35. This will cost you 205. Play with price. Price is not something to be avoided in this, in how you communicate. It's something to be embraced, because it's a question. It's the number one question your customer will ask. Let them ask it in a way that shows you very well and positively, but helps them make a decision. Okay, so have a little think and type yes in the chat when you have one topic, one video, or one blog that you could write that answers that price question for your customer. Take a moment and do it. We have the time, so take the time. And if you don't know, then ask me in the chat and I will come up with a topic for you. So when everyone has written a topic, written it down, you don't have to share the topic, wonderful, because you can get feedback, or just write it down on your piece of paper so that when you go away, great. So when you walk away from today, you will have 5 topics to include in your signature content today. And you will have 5 topics from your own pillar topics that you want to communicate about yourself to your audience. And you'll walk away today with 10 things in your content plan. Okay, so I qualify my clients. My clients aren't usually price sensitive. I always give a high estimate and give them a lower final payment. But gift for my favorite uncle, I love it. So what is the typical question they're asking? It's not about how you're answering. I want to know the question they're asking. It's not about whether they're price sensitive or not. It's about you showing yourself and encouraging other people like them to come to you, because you already have those customers. The purpose of this type of content is to expand your reach and let other people find you without having to go through the learning curve that your existing customers had when they met you. We want you to share the answers to the pricing question for new customers, okay? So yes, while delivery schedule is an important topic, it's not around price. I want you to find a blog post or a video or some topic around the area of costs or pricing. that could help. And it could be even things like, how much does a diamond cost? Can be that. How much does a silver piece of jewelry cost? How much does a gold piece of jewelry cost? Can be that kind of stuff. Okay. So if you've got, please tell me you're done when you've got, so costs done into the chat, please. And I'll go to the next one if you're happy. Done. Wonderful. Okay. The next thing, I always talk price as part of qualifying my clients. Yeah. But as a content piece, something that stays on your YouTube channel, on your Instagram, IGTV, on your blog, always include that. We want this as a piece that is anchored into your content, okay? So what are the problems that your customer has that you can talk about? So it could be, how do I find something for Uncle Joe? He's 85 and I can't give him any more socks. So what are the problems that your customer has? What's a typical thing of, how do I choose a present for my mother-in-law? How do I get all of my Christmas gifts done within a budget of €200, €1,000, €500, €15? How do I get all my shopping list done? From you, that's what you want to do, you know? So what are the problems your customer has that you can answer? Okay. And this is you showing them that you have the answer, that you have the solution, that you are the perfect match for their gift buying challenges. You are going to make it easier for them. What are the problems? Also could be, when do I have to order for Christmas? How can I save with you? What are the kinds of problems? How am I going to get a budget for Christmas? How can I be clever about my budget for Christmas? Like, that can be the problems. What are the problems that you can be in place to solve? How can I give something that can be a future heirloom for my children? How can I give something that will be make a difference to this person? Or it can be, how can I get a large painting that's going to fit into a living room that has a huge wall and I want it to dominate, I want it to be these colors, or a small wall because I really love art and I want to have a small piece of something special and I want to build my collection. So this is, what are the problems your customers are having? So type yes, type done, problems done in the chat when you've got a topic for this area. Done. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, done. Love it. So the next thing that they want to know is comparisons and versus. So in jewelry, it could be, which is better, a diamond or a ruby? Or which is better, a small piece of art with bright colors? Which painting is worth more? Which artist is worth more? How can we have comparisons? How can you help? Because your customer is going to choose their purchase based on comparisons with others. So can you show them different offerings? So within your own area, you can talk about comparing materials, you can compare formats, you can compare how you mount a piece of art, you can compare so many things that you can compare. You can also compare what it's like to buy locally from a business compared to buying a very strong named. You can show them how to invest in pieces. You can do these kinds of things. So is there something that you can compare in your business that you can do a comparison? If they spend X amount with, if they buy, it could even be if they buy a dinner voucher versus if they buy a piece of art that stays with them forever. What are the top presents that you can purchase? So when you have a comparison or a versus done, or if you're stuck, tell me your story and I'll help you. Type in done if you're finished. So comparison done or versus done. So done. Great. Fantastic. Okay. The next one is, what we want is best of lists. And while this might seem that I'm laboring this a little bit, because I get that sense of you, Dan, it's really good to anchor this kind of content because it actually drives SEO, drives traffic to your site, because this is what people are looking for. It's not always answering customer questions, it's not always the most interesting stuff to do, but it's actually the most powerful thing you can do for your business, is to actually put yourself in your customer's shoes to help them solve that problem. So best of lists, best of class, and best practices are is your next topic. And best of, so best Christmas card gifts, best Christmas gifts this year. Where is the best place that you can go to source something? What is the most impactful thing that you can do? So what is the best of lists that you can share with your customers? Because that's what they're looking for. They want the best, and they'd like to have the best from you. So you could, if you have a suite of gifts, you could say, well, my best seller is this, and it's usually used for Auntie Mary or for kids, because they come back again and again, because they always find it really useful. What are the best of lists for you? Okay. And then the last one that I want you to do is the obvious one, which is reviews. People want to know that they spent their money wisely with you, that they were wowed, because you are letting someone have a peek in the window about what is so wonderful about you. So reviews are really, really important and need to be consistently shared throughout your content. Okay, so here is, and does everybody have reviews? And do you have, because when we did our first session together, we talked about the funnel, and reviews are actually the last thing at the end of your funnel that allows you to get more business, because you're getting referrals, testimonials, showing that you are really creative, showing that you have a wonderful product to bring to the market, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so reviews are really, really important. Next thing I want you to do. So we've done this layer 5 of answering their questions, and I wanted you to share your answers. Is there anyone that wants to share, or is there any sticking points for any of that? And do you understand this idea? Because very often when we're thinking about content, we're only thinking about ourselves, and we're not thinking about what the customer wants. Okay, so this is a way of actually sandwiching both together. Okay, so that's your recap, which we did: costs and pricing, problems, comparisons and versus, best of lists, and reviews. Okay, so some of these questions that your customer will ask, you'll save them for blogs, because they don't quite fit lives or podcasts. So keep them for those. Use them for that, because it's really important that you have those blogs, and that they're actually really good. They're better in blogs because they're really good for SEO. Okay, so when you pull all of these together, this is what actually allows you to create a content plan. And can you see that this is the bones of a content plan? Because if you know that you have pillar topics, and you can find a way to actually showcase, so in your pillar topics, how are you showing what you want to share with your pillar topics? So this is my question for you here now, is when you picked out your 4 or 5 pillar topics, and then you thought about, I'm going to do a weekly video, how are you matching your weekly video to those pillar topics? So some examples of how you can do a weekly video that's around pillar topics. If one of your pillar topics is around creativity, or high quality or expensive jewelry, or really high quality art, and all of that, what we want to do is show them behind the scenes how you are showing your creativity. But it's not just enough to show you making a product. While making a product, making a gift, making a piece of art is a very special thing to do, you need to have more to build the story, to pull them in. So it's, while images and a bit of text can help tell that story, how is it an invitation to draw them in closer to you, to make them want to find more and find the answers to the questions that we've just been discussing? So you can do things like take them on the journey to, say, for example, you're making that gift for that christening, for that first baby's Christmas, for the piece of art on the wall. Tell the story of the piece of art. And don't leave it up to the customer to understand it, because you are the creative one. You are the person who's bringing this piece of beautiful gift to the marketplace. So you need to tell this story. How can you show them how to use that gift, or how that gift or that piece of art can look in their lives? It's not just about you showing behind the scenes, but telling the story of a piece. I remember buying a piece of art once at a Kilkenny art show, and the artist was in one of the smaller kind of exhibition spaces. And I remember going and seeing this piece of art that had two hands crossed like this on it. And it was a very, very powerful piece. And I wanted to, and I attracted to it. And I said, oh, that's a really nice piece, to the artist. And she then proceeded to tell me the story of the piece of art. And the story was that her really good friend had died recently, and she couldn't paint. And the only thing she could do in the end was, she was just consumed with that grief. And that overriding feeling that she had was that I have nothing but this, but my two hands. I have nothing else. And she drew that piece. And I have that piece on my wall for 15 years. And I have never forgotten that experience of that person telling me that story, that artist. In fact, I've probably forgotten the name of the artist, but I've never forgotten the story. So when you're telling the story of each of the products and the gifts that you are making for somebody, and thinking of them in mind, or the emotion that caused you to create this, are you sharing that story in your signature content? Because that's what will build connection for you, that you can show each piece that you make. You're not just a manufacturer, you're a creator and a maker, and you're inspired to create beautiful things. So can you tell that story when you produce content every single week? Because your customer wants to know the story, and when they know the story, they'll buy it. Okay, so I want you to get your heart into, while it may seem a very rational thing, to be thinking of things like 5 questions from your customers, which sounds so boring, and pillar content, 4 or 5 pieces. I want you to dig deep, like that woman dug deep when she shared that story with me. But it brought me closer and actually made me look for that artist afterwards, because it had such an impact on me. And if you use your signature content to tell the stories behind your pieces of art, your working pieces, that bridges the gap between you and your customer and builds loyalty. And when you can do that consistently, you will have loyalty, you will have repeat customers, you will be sharing stories that your customer will share with other people as well. Can you imagine if that artist asked me for a review of that piece that has pride of place in my living room? I have another piece, okay, that is on the wall that I have a funny story. When we drove all around France, we went to this art exhibit and with my then 11-year-old son, and we were looking at pieces of art. And Sean was really moved by one particular piece of art. And then we left, and he said, I want to tell that man how beautiful this is. And he's 11. And he ran back, and I said, go ahead and tell him. And he ran back and told the artist how moved he was by that piece of art. And then he said, hold on. And he, we were doing this not in French. And he got a piece of paper and he drew Sean there and then, and came back, and Sean came back and handed us that. We walked right back and bought the piece of art. These are the stories that sell, because they resonate deeply with it, because you have emotive products. You've got to use these stories, these emotional stories, these reasons why to connect with your customers, and still answer all the questions that are being asked at the same time by your customers. And sandwiching that together makes content that's consistent, that you are joyful in sharing every single week, because it makes a difference. And you have to hold fast to do it consistently and listen for the responses so that you can tell these stories that resonate. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, so this is about putting the two together. Okay, so my next piece for you, okay, is when you found this way of communicating like this, because you can even tell in how I'm now speaking to you that I'm much more, and this is what happens to your customers. They're warmer, they're building relationships with you. This is what it needs to feel like when you tell your own stories. You need to feel like this as much as I feel like this listening to you. Okay, so if you decide that you're going to share the stories of each piece that shows your creativity, that shows your heart, that shows that it's handmade, because that was one statement that was said, show me that it's handmade. Show me this in action. Tell me those stories. And then as you write, when you write these out, and you start to see, wow, there's a bit of a thread emerging here. It will start to seem to pop to you that there is a thread, a consistent thread that's happening in this of, I create clay pots that have whimsical characters on them. That's what I want to be known for, my whimsical characters, okay? Or I create woven tweed pieces that feel so soft to the touch, that are really robust. Like you're telling these individual stories are your pillar topics, and you're telling them such a way that you can feel them, okay? So I'm wanting you to feel all that, and you're not going to feel all that in this webinar. I want you to feel all that when you walk away and reflect on it. It's not just an intellectual exercise. It's a way of you going deep to understand the motivations and the space that you want to own, so that you can output it in a way that resonates and hangs together. When you note each of these kind of core topics or core themes that you want to communicate about what you do, matching them about what they need to know, and actually sandwiching that together and finding and saying, okay, every week I'm going to talk about why I do this and how I do this. Every single week, I'm going to have an element in here of why I've designed this piece in this way. So think about that you have maybe 4 or 5 things that over the course of, and maybe that you have 4 things and you have a different kind of theme every week that you're showing, and it's a groove that you're finding that you like to speak about, that you're passionate about. I need you to capture that so that you can see it on paper. Because what happens when you see it on paper is you see a thread emerging between all of these things. Allow that thread to emerge. And then what I'm advocating for you is to share it, to brand it, so that you stand on this. This becomes your stamp of your content. And it becomes this, it means you really hold the thread that's woven through your entire identity. You really hold that thread and you share it. And what happens is when it starts to really resonate with people, you're giving them a name that they can share with others, saying, you know what, you should listen to, or you should watch this weekly video that's all about how she weaves tweed, how he actually makes this beautiful jewelry, and the steps that it takes, and how often he has to hammer on that piece of metal. And you can see the dirt under his nails. I don't know if that's the case, I'm just saying. And how, look at the fine work that's involved in this, because perhaps one of your pillar topics is the fineness of your work. So writing all these down and branding it, finding a name will emerge when you actually say, this is all of the way that I'm weaving. I can see this consistent theme. Brand it. When you brand it, tell people, this is my weekly thing called blah. So for example, I have a weekly Instagram live called Ask Finola How, that's all about answering questions from real entrepreneurs. So you know from these sessions that I like to hear the voice of the entrepreneur, because it's how I can best do my work. So that's what I branded my weekly content. What will you brand yours? That's my question. Does that make sense? And if that makes sense, please type yes in the chat. Oops. Okay, have you another example? Tell me more. So I want you to call it, you could call it, is all of your products created in tweed? It could be, you could actually talk about tweed and brand it around tweed. It could be young tweed. Now, because we think of tweed as being something older, so maybe it's young tweed. And you could call your weekly content piece all the things, all the gifts that you can make out of tweed. No, but mostly, yeah. But I'm wanting you to play, see what emerges. What's the consistent piece of content that comes? And when you brand it, what you'll find is when you brand something like that, when you name something like that, naming always gives power to something. But when you name it, it actually anchors, this is my weekly and I must. So for example, I know my Ask Finola How is in response to a question from somebody. If you have tweeding young, then you know it's always about tweed and it's always about reinterpreting tweed for a younger audience. Do you understand what I mean by that? So or it can be creating heirloom jewelry, could be another one for somebody else here in the audience. So as you write down these core things that you want people to know about you and the core things that your customers want to know about you, the bridge in the middle is what you call your weekly content and allows you to frame it so that you know this is what I have to deliver on every week. And it means that you don't have to think too deeply about it because you know I have this anchor point. This is what I'm going to call my weekly content. And I always need to reinterpret and look at it. And when you have an anchor point like that, it allows you actually to be more creative of finding another way to look at this and another way, but is always anchored in how you branded it. You may start your signature content just starting it by doing it every single week and exploring this stuff. But what I'm wanting you to do after a period of time is allow that brand to come through if it's not so obvious at the start. Any other questions for me? If you want me to keep going, type keep going. Okay, oh, that's a long one. Okay, so these personal experiences are why I have dinner or luncheon parties. One-on-one is the way for high quality to be promoted by me. I understand what you're saying. I'm an outlier, an anomaly. I don't want too many clients. My clients are often willing to wait many months for an item. At this time, I'm not really interested in growing my sales. But are you really interested in growing your brand? That would be my key question. And no. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that's wonderful if you're not interested in growing your brand. I think, yeah, it's actually quite interesting. But I think, how are you marketing then? It's quite interesting. So I think that one-on-one is an interesting way. Yeah, is a way for high quality to promote it, but not always. Not always. You can promote high quality in this way by actually being quite unique about it, by actually allowing people to see behind the curtain, as we say. Okay, my past clients do my marketing. Okay, what if they didn't, would be my question. Kind of interesting. I think you should capture some of that. I think there is a way that people can, there is a way for people to see what you do, but yeah, but there's no point in me even discussing it if it's not of interest, you know. That's what's, so for people who want others to see what they're doing, and I always find it it's really good to have a plan in place if your past clients don't do your marketing for you. you have to help your clients market for you by giving them the language to do it. So if you can show them, perhaps you can use your dinner parties even better by showing them in a more structured way. Maybe you already have the structure, but I think there's something there that should be farmed. I wouldn't just rest there. I think it's something very interesting to share these pieces, because if your jewelry is that high quality, there's always a benefit in sharing that high quality with others, because it means that more people will come to you that weren't aware of you in the first place. I think it's useful. Okay, I'm going to go to the next layer, okay? So these are my thoughts to leave you with, okay, for this session. And that is, I want you to start with something simple and let it evolve based on the feedback you get. So this is allowing you to use the channels that actually resonate best with you. If you can do video or podcast, and I was delighted to see that most of you are doing video, making sure that whatever works best for you. And this is really important because your customers need to see you and or hear you. We need to see you consistently out there so that you can attract more of us to you. We want to know about you. We want to fall in love with you. And if you can think and spend some time saying, I could make my content a consistent flow, become something that is signature to me because I've actually named it, because I've identified that red thread that works through all of my content and all of my products and what I do, and I can find a flow around that, it makes it easier to produce that content. When you're frantically going, oh my God, what month is this? What kind of content will I have? Or producing the same kind of images that we know that it's very popular with makers, which is how the work in progress, but we need to attach story to that work in progress to have greater meaning and build emotional connection with it. And then once you've got that consistency moving through all of your content, the next step is to actually repurpose that content. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel every single time. And really important for you is to repurpose it for written word so that you get the search engine optimization kicking into place, that people can find you and know that their questions will be answered. They are my thoughts to leave with today. So now you know, I hope you know, what signature content is and why it will help you marketing for your business, how to choose your own signature content so you can be consistent, and then how to ensure it matters to your customers. Essentially, what's happening is you are understanding your own gift that you bring, the stories behind your own content, what you want to become known for, the quality, the creativity, the unique approach that you have, and you're matching with that with the questions that your customers have around your content, using the two of those together and producing it every single week consistently allows you to produce content that actually converts. So my biggest message for you, be consistent, choose content that you like doing and make it matter to them. Thank you very much. I hope you let me know if you have any questions.
Finola, that was absolutely fabulous and enthralling. I think I'm in unison with the audience. It was a very, very worthwhile hour that we spent with you. And I don't know, you're so terrific that my video function has paused, so nobody has to bother even seeing me, which is probably another advantage of the day. So I think everyone really enjoyed that, learned a lot from it, and we look forward to you coming back to us again.
Fantastic.
So
thank you very much.
On behalf of everyone, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Finola. Thank you.